Now, I want to open up this conversation to involve the audience, but before I do, I'd like to say that we also have in the audience Mr. Anthony Uduwe, who is the Ikeja Disco Managing Director, Engineer B.U. Mustafa, the MD and CEO of Yola Disco, as well as Engineer Garba Haruna, the MD of Kaduna Disco. This is just so that people know they're here in case they have questions for them in addition to members of the panel. Before I ask people to make their comments and ask their question, there are a few graphics that I want to share with you. There's a graphic about meter distribution percentages by disco, which I hope will give people a sense of how many meters discos have actually utilized and how many have not. Is that graphic ready? I wanted it up so that members of the audience and people at home can actually see. Okay, it isn't. I also wanted to give people a sense of the sort of increase in tariff that we've seen year in, year out from 2000 and, okay, right. The increase in tariff that we've seen, a case study of Ikeja Disco from 2011. Okay, so, right, if you look, my eyes are very bad, I can't see it, but you can see the spikes based on the graphs that from 2011 to date, we've seen a huge increase in pricing. These are the sort of things that are leading to complaints about the fact that people don't believe they're paying for power that they're using. And finally, I think there's a pie chart that is quite important. It basically explains who gets what when consumers have paid their money. Because tariffs are, of course, divided among generation companies, distribution companies, the bulk trader, etc., etc. So that's the pie chart, so that you get a sense of how much of the money that you pay actually goes to your discos. And I think this might be pertinent as we open up the conversation to the audience. And so, yes, I'm ready to take questions from members of the audience. Anybody? Yes, the gentleman at the back. Tell us who you are, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Yes. My name is Dona Bikena, and I work with the Heritage Ball Foundation, and I'm a consumer. I really want to thank the Honorable Minister for being here and the insight and courageous directives which he's been taking recently with NERC. Having listened to the discos talk, the manufacturers talk, and the Minister get to really talk, I try to wonder what's most beneficial to the discos. Where do they actually get the biggest profit margin? Is it with the estimated billing or with the meters? Because if meters give them the most revenue, then obviously they should be aggressive in ensuring that the meters are highly distributed. And when the issue of liquidity, comes up, I was saying the liquidity problem and the rest of them, I would really think they would quickly grab onto the capping program. And so that would in no way say that the Minister or NERC is wrong. I think they are very right to actually put a stop to capping, because if the capping was actually working for them, I really don't see any reason why the disco would have not grabbed it. So the question is, for the discos, if meters would give you the largest margin of returns, what stops you from really making it available for the Nigerian people? I think you'll be ready to go the extra miles to ensure that Nigerians get meters in their home. And the complaints are really piling up. You visit the NERC website, the Minister's website, it's really piling up. And I think it's stereotyped to say that Nigerians can't afford meters. I mean, Nigerians actually buy transformers. I know commuters are buying transformers. So meters, affording meters should not be a problem. So the question is, what is actually stopping the discos? They should really tell the Nigerian people what's stopping them.
Thank you. Can I answer the question? Thank you very much for the question. It's a very interesting one, and it's a very vital one. From everybody's perspective, metering, as has been said before, is the single biggest issue that we're focusing in on in the disco perspective, from a regulator perspective, from a government perspective, because it's the most important thing to the customer. They need to be metered properly in order to have a proper billing system. That's vital. However, when you have a look at what the discos have done over the last year, last year wasn't successful. However, this year has been an exceptional year and a lot more focus on metering as quickly as possible. So if you have a look at the commitments that I've seen from the discos, there's over 800,000 meters committed this year. If you have a look at the commitment within the next 2 years, we have to commit to do the shortfall, which is 2.9 million. So roughly about 800,000 a year is going to cover the shortfall. So we're still going to have a problem for the next 2 years until we meter everybody. But that tends to be the focus. When you have a look at, so those are the stats and those are the issues. Liquidity, remember, unless you've got the capex, unless you've got the funds, which is cash, to be able to purchase the meters, there's some issues. If you have a look at our capex is controlled and managed through the MITO program. Our allowable capex is capped. So fundamentally, for example, within Evidon Disco, we have a meter program which we are allowed to spend 3.4 billion naira this year. We will spend over 4 billion naira. However, that 4 billion naira is nowhere near enough to meter our full plan. Why is that? It's because the exchange rate has really affected us badly with regards to the purchase of these meters.
Now, let me ask, inferred in that question that he asked was the question of profitability and whether actually you make more money from estimated billing than you do from meters. And I think Dr. Jamil Gwamna, earlier when he spoke, did own up to the fact that estimated billing, has a way of sort of giving a little bit more money than meters. And so he did infer that. Okay. Well, so let me ask you a straight question.
Yes.
Where do you make the most money? Is it from your meters or from estimated billing?
Meters will definitely give us a better return.
No. Well, it's not will. I'm asking now.
Now, I'm saying that
okay.
Meters are a much better way for us and more profitable for us than not metering. So metering is the right thing to do. As I've said, we committed, and all the discos are committed to improve their performance with regards to metering, with regards to our commitments with the government and our performance agreement. So there's full commitment there. Sorry.
Yeah. No, before I get you to speak, I need to get regular people to ask their questions, then we'll come back to you to respond. The gentleman at the back, right at the back, and then we'll come to the gentleman in front.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aditayo Toyokwadigunle. I'm from POP, Nigeria. It's a consumer rights advocacy group, electricity consumer rights advocacy group. And let me say a big thank you for everyone that is there today. I'm not here to, in fact, I've learned a lot. But you see, with somebody that asks a lot of questions, the more you tell him, the more you probably ask more questions. While I'm asking my question, I think there are some facts that we all seem to have agreed on, which is one of them is the fact that most of these our discos presently, as they are constituted, are not that liquid financially. Therefore, what other question I've not heard anybody answer is how much is it going to cost? Say Enugu Disco, for instance, or Ikeja Disco to get their customers metered. How many customers do you have on their network, and how much is going to cost them to meter them across the years that they fix in their rollout plan? Now, in answering that question.
Okay, just one more, then I have somebody else.
Okay, now the main question where I was going actually is this: how come we have not considered independent metering system service providers? I mean, that's the way it's done in Canada. Same thing is done in Australia. Same thing is done in India. How come Nigeria has not considered introducing independent metering service providers in such a way that we can lift the load of putting all this capex from the discos to and open up the ecosystem a bit more?
Okay. Now, before I go to the other question, maybe we can talk about, the issue of liquidity, for example, and if it would be nice if the minister responds to this. Government is owing discos billions and billions of, naira, and we're just wondering, when are you going to pay them so that they can actually perhaps begin to? And then, of course, also address again the issue of the independent metering. And I'm told you can actually sit down and answer the question, yes.
I think it is also important to understand that power is produced on an ongoing and continuous basis. And therefore, whether you are an individual consumer, whether you are a government department, billing and settlement of bills are an ongoing and continuing reality of the industry. Now, as far as the debts owed by departments of government are concerned, just yesterday we have asked, and some debts have been paid, more have accumulated. Some have been approved, that we're finding that remittances haven't been made from our meeting in Sokoto yesterday. We have also shared with the DISCOs the reporting format for them to verify, to help us verify the debts. Because some of those debts were not contracted under my watch. And if I'm going to approve or recommend them for payment, I must be sure that what I'm authorizing or recommending for payment with public funds has some basis and they have agreed to respond to that reporting template that we shared with them just yesterday. Now, in terms of financing, at our meeting also yesterday, there is a $150 million facility by the French Development Agency being offered for onward lending through a local bank here. And I think it's a minimum of a 7-year and a maximum of a 12-year facility. It came to us in the ministry as government. My responsibility was to share it with the DISCOs and how it works, so that each one of them on an individual basis can then seek to access those funds in order to support their metering program, because that is one of the things that the fund is for. So we must continue to recognize that government is trying to allow private sector really do this business. Okay, simultaneously, we are also trying to raise a $500 million facility for the country in support of business for metering. That we're trying to do through the IFC, the World Bank Lending Agency. But we haven't concluded the format in which the money is injected, whether it goes to the manufacturers or whether it is lent. There has to be a concept around how it is, but the principle is already there.